Welcome back to Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and today we're going to talk about Carnage number 2. I did not mean for that to rhyme. So, yes, Carnage number 2 by Ram V, Francesco Manna, and Dijjo Lima is his name. And this is 30 years of Carnage, unlike 60 years of Spider-Man. Wow, speaking of Spider-Man, that Spider-Man review kind of blew up. So thank you for all the comments and the views. I'm glad to know that I'm not alone in my displeasure with that book. But while that was a bad book, what we have here is a great book. Unfortunately, it's not printed on as nice paper as that Spider-Man, and I wish they did print it better because this is a great book. So before I get really into this, I want to say that, again, I'm not really a Carnage fan. I've never really read Carnage. This is the first series of Carnage comic books that I've ever bought in my entire life. And also they're the first ones I've ever read. So if you are a Carnage fan, what I would like, if you don't mind, is to, in the comments, let me know what you like in a Carnage book. So I hear all these people talking about, fan service and how fan service is bad. And I don't believe that fan service is a bad thing. I think fan service is basically a product that the fans want. So if you're putting out a product that the fans want, to me, that's fan service. So that's my opinion on that. So if you are a Carnage fan and you like to see certain things in Carnage books, then yeah, go ahead and let me know in the comments so I can kind of look for those and maybe I can make a better, more appropriate review for you. So with that being said, what I'm going to talk about today here is why I think this is a great book personally. Right off the bat, I want to say that when you have a creative team working together really well, it's a thing of beauty. It's like listening to, the Beatles as they hit the White Album. They're hitting their stride and they're just starting to really crush things. What I really like about this particular book is Ram V is a fantastic writer. Very few writers in comics these days seem to understand the economy of words. And I was reading this book and I was thinking, as I was going through editing images, because I don't like to include text in a book if I don't have to, I was going through editing these images and I was like whiting out all these different words and dialogue. And I just realized that Ram, he puts things in there that need to be there and that's it. He is brilliant with his economy of words. And I was thinking, who also believes in an economy of words? Alan Moore does. And ask me how I know Alan Moore does. Well, I did a Google search and I found this article. Here is how many words should be in a panel and how many words should be on a page. So Alan Moore says 35 words per panel and 210 words per page. So like 6 panels a page. Now, unlike some people that we know who don't seem to understand this, some people whose names might rhyme with Blindus, Ram actually understands this. Ram understands this. And you know why I know that Ram understands the economy of words? Because, boom, when I went to look him up on Twitter, this is like one of the first tweets I saw. You're absolutely right, Ram. You don't use any words that you do not need to use. And I really appreciate that. Trust me, as a reader, when you're going through this book, there is no fluff. He tells you what you need, how you need it, and it's bam, 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 and you're right through the pace of the book, and it's a brilliantly paced book as far as the writing is concerned. So you should appreciate that, and that's one reason if you want to understand good writing and you want to understand a great, competently, professionally assembled comic book, pick up Carnage. Now, aside from Ram, you have Francesco Manna and you have Dijjo here. Now, this is an entirely international creative team. Ram is from India and he's presently based in the United Kingdom. And Francesco is from Italy and Dijjo is from, I might be mispronouncing it because he's from Brazil. That might be a mispronunciation of his name. But we have India by way of London, and then we have Italy, and then we have Brazil. And these guys are just murdering this book, no pun intended, with Carnage. So just take a leap of faith with me about this. Anyway, getting into the story here, this picks up where issue 1 left off, where the symbiote is out there looking for a new host. In the process of trying to find a new host, he comes across this other serial killer who is trying to, apply for the job. And this is Thomas Neely. And Neely is being chased by Booth, a detective named Booth. And so while Carnage is in the middle of dissecting another character, then and explaining to Neely why Neely isn't good enough really to be his host, in comes Booth, and Booth doesn't care about the situation, which looks like something straight out of the X-Files. and he decides that he's going to go for Neely anyway, and Carnage really appreciates that. I will say that this is a 4-star book. It's a fantastic book, and if you like really well written and really well rendered comics, this is the book for you. So, like I already said, Ram knows what he's doing with his writing. He's a great writer. But what about the art? Well, the art is also fantastic. There's a couple different things I want to say about it. The one thing I want to talk about, though, with the art is that there should be consistency in a book, and especially when you're doing a layout for a book. And I see this a lot of the time where you have an artist, or maybe they're switching up artists, and this actually drives me crazy when they're switching up artists on books, or they've got 2 artists on the same issue, and so 3 pages will be by one, then 2 pages will be by another, and then more pages by the other, and that drives me crazy. But in this book, you actually have got the same artist going all the way throughout it, but there is something that he does that I think is kind of weird. So at this page, Booth is in the hospital, and if you'll notice here, you've got 4 panels, and they're all the way down, and there's nothing wrong with the art, but there are 4 panels on a white page. So if you cut to the page before it, the entire page is covered. It's like a full bleed. You have an establishing scene, and then you've got these panels that are placed on top of the scene, and it gives you a much fuller visual experience. So you go from that back to this hospital where it's bang, 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 bang with 4 different panels and nothing but white, and it doesn't work. And there's actually kind of a solution page in this book that shows you how it should be done, and it's all by the same artist. So here's another page where they're back in the hospital, and you've got that establishing panel, right? That's the foundation for all the rest of the panels. So while Francesco is just really crushing it as far as all of the different art is concerned, there could be some more consistency, but I can't really complain. The art is beautiful. Now I've talked about Ram and I've talked about Francesco, let's talk about Dijjo. Dijjo is a phenomenal colorist, and I'll tell you what, you have a great colorist when they add so much more depth to things. So here's a picture of Neely, right? Neely's wearing glasses, and look at the color here. He's added, translucent areas so that you can tell you're looking through glass. Francesco doesn't have to draw the lines indicating that there's kind of like a shine. He just draws the glasses and boom, here's the color. And Dijjo just really amps it up. He's one of the best colorists currently working that I can see. Altogether, when you have all 3 of these guys just really at the top of their game, you've got a beautiful book. And by the way, here's another thing. I talk about gray text on red backgrounds, like what's going on in one of the Batman books, and actually consistently goes on in DC Comics. Here's how you do text on a red background. Boom. Here's Carnage, and he's speaking. This is amazing lettering work by Joe Sabino. When you have a font that just oozes the character that's speaking, this is a beautiful way of showing what character is talking at what time. And the fact that we have white on red is clear, it's easy to read. Take note, distinguished competition. Take note, DC. This is how you do character lettering, and this is how you use text on a red background. You have to make sure that it pops off of it. Gray text on a red background is stupid, all right? So stop it. But anyway, altogether, Carnage #2 is a fantastic book. The writing is mature, the plot is mature, the symbiote has a really good, interesting story that's not just all about murdering people, and then there's a surprise at the end. Rarely do you get a book that is as good as this book is put together. So even if you don't like Carnage, I'd encourage you to give it a whirl. So the first book is a little bit heavy on the gore, but the second one I think is really fantastic. So, and again, if you're a Carnage fan and there are certain things that you expect in a Carnage book but you're not seeing in this one, let me know in the comments and I'll try to add that to my, rubric for grading these things. But again, this is Carnage #2. It's a great book. Thanks for watching Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and I'll catch you next time.